Coming to paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Illuminati. The man who rules the world takes on the head of the global elite in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Pre-order your copy of John Haynes, Illuminati on Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. One of my viewers sent me a link to an article from the BBC talking about how Joe Biden quietly was giving funding to Taiwan. Now, in this November article from the BBC, it states that Joe Biden quietly signed off on an $80 million grant to Taiwan to purchase American military equipment. Now, this tangible is being provided to the Taiwanese government in the form of an $80 million grant, and this is money that the Taiwanese government doesn't have to pay back to the United States for the purchase of this military equipment. Now, Joe Biden's reasoning is that this grant that comes from American taxpayers is being used to fund the Taiwanese government in an effort to make sure that it's strong against an alleged attack from China. And according to the viewer, they say that Janet Yellen, the head of the Federal Reserve, has no problem with this alleged possible three-way war between the U.S., Taiwan, and China, and would look to go out and finance this equipment to help if there was a conflict in Taiwan. Now, this whole situation with Taiwan is one that should concern most foundational Black Americans, and it should concern most foundational Black Americans because this is the latest disrespect that has been presented to all of us foundational Black Americans, especially the ones who decided to take their booties to the poll to go out and vote for Joe Biden. Because ever since the 2020 election, when all of those black folks took their booties to the poll to preserve democracy from the evil Donald Trump, instead of foundational Black Americans receiving a reward from the Biden administration in the form of being given priority first and being provided with tangibles that were important to us, like an anti-Black hate crime bill and tangibles such as reparations to pay all of the foundational Black Americans like myself for all of the slavery we have endured in this country, our ancestors, all of the racism that kept Black people from actualizing their potential after the Reconstruction due to the Jim Crow policies of the South and the discrimination of the North, and the current and ongoing discrimination that denies people like myself from being able to enter the job market. Many foundational Black Americans, we have not received a single tangible as related to compensation for all of what we have endured in this country, and instead of giving us tangibles as related to reparations and anti-Black hate crime bill and providing us with a better quality of life, what the Biden administration has done is expressed its contempt to foundational Black Americans ever since Joe Biden was the president-elect in December of 2020, when he told all of those Black misleaders he could do nothing for Black people. However, over the last 4 years, he has been eager to go out here and do everything for everybody who is not a citizen of these United States, such as the Afghans in Afghanistan who wanted to migrate to America. And he also opened up the U.S. bank book for them and helped them get a new life in the middle class. Then he opened up the U.S. funding and gave billions of dollars to Ukraine And after giving billions of dollars to Ukraine to help them fund their war against the Russians, he then opened up the book for all of these migrants as related to opening up the border, and again opened the door for them to come into the country after entering the country illegally. And this is just the fourth slap in the face, because with this $80 million grant, he continues to express his contempt to all of those foundational black Americans, including those who took their booties to the poll, those who took their booty to the poll to preserve democracy, sadly are seeing that they are not receiving any of the benefits from the Biden administration in the form of tangibles, and that disrespect is really being directed to them because, again, he can go out here and lobby Congress to go out here and find funding for Afghans, find funding for Ukrainians, do nothing about the border, and now he's basically been able to give $80 million to the Taiwanese in the Taiwanese government, and this is on top of giving Asians an anti-Asian hate crime bill, and doing all this while he told black people he needed to preserve democracy, but didn't want to give us anything tangible in exchange for it. No, instead of giving us anything tangible, all he told black people was we needed to go to the Hispanic community to get tangibles, and that is the ultimate form of disrespect because the Taiwanese government doesn't have to go to the Hispanic community to get $80 million to get the U.S. government to buy its own stuff to give to a country, and the Ukrainians, they don't have to go to the Hispanic community to get billions to fight their war with Russia and get weapons for their wars. And many of the Afghans who were stuck in Afghanistan who were loyal to America, they didn't have to go to the Hispanic community for anything. But Joe Biden told black people that we needed to go to the Hispanic community, and that was the ultimate form of disrespect. And this is a further disrespect compounded on foundational black Americans in that they can go out here and look to finance militarization of operations in other countries, but they can't find tangibles for all of those black voters who went out and took their booty to the poll. And that is an insult because it seems like the Biden administration can find money for everyone but all of us black people, especially the black people who went out here and voted in large numbers for Joe Biden. He can find money for everyone but black people, and that is the ultimate disrespect directed at black people. Here is a president that black people helped get elected, helped give him a majority in the House and the Senate, and instead of him showing gratitude to black people, he talks down to black people like paternalistic slaves and talks down to black people like paternalistic slaves because he doesn't care about black people, and that should make black people give pause before they ever consider voting again. And a lot of black people are taking the time to give pause at this point because if a president can go out here and sign off on an $80 million grant to arm a country like Taiwan as related to a possible war situation, why can't he go out here and cut a check as related to reparations and the war that was waged on black people to keep us in a second-class status in our own country? Critical question I gotta ask because, again, you have to have all of these different sort of meetings and congressional hearings about reparations, but there is no congressional hearing about giving this $80 million grant to Taiwan to spend money, our own money, to give them weapons. And what's sad is you've got the BBC that's talking about this about a couple of months ago, but no mainstream media outlets, and they're not going to talk about it because Joe Biden's approval rating is already in the garbage. And if this story basically came out about the whole situation in Taiwan, it would basically wind up with Joe Biden going from underwater approval ratings to winding up drowning as related to himself. So this whole situation, it just shows how they've got money for everybody but black people. They've got the way to get policies implemented for everyone but black people. But you've got guys like Joe Biden who want us to take our booties to the poll to preserve the democracy from the evil Donald Trump. But the whole thing is they don't see how dirty they did foundational black Americans, because out of all the groups in this country, we were the ones who came out in the largest numbers, took our booties to the poll after being disrespected by that ad, and came out to preserve the democracy in America. But instead of getting a reward for preserving democracy, what we got was more hypocrisy, because instead of looking to help out the people in foundational black America and allow us to be a part of society, we were told we had to step behind everyone, and then our needs were put last, even though we put the democracy of America first as related to the entire campaign of Joe Biden. And instead of giving black people anything tangible, all we got was talked down to like children and given an empty symbolic gesture in a Juneteenth holiday that does nothing for most foundational black Americans. And that is the ultimate form of disrespect. And this is why Biden's approval rating has dropped in black communities. And it's dropped in black communities because Joe Biden does nothing for black people and doesn't care about black people. And all he cares about is looking to go out and look to get favor for everyone, but he takes the black vote for granted. And as he takes the black vote for granted, he's basically alienated the black vote, and that coalition of minorities doesn't seem to have materialized. No, with what's going on in Gaza, many of the Muslim Americans aren't looking to vote for Joe Biden, and they're looking to sit out the election until they can get something tangible. And that's where we really need to start thinking about staying home, because if Joe Biden can't cut a check for us, then we just definitely need to go out and cut ties with him. Now, I usually don't talk about politics, but this is what the viewer wanted to talk about. And if you want to pick up some of my books, you can find them on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format, and you can find them at other online booksellers like Google Play, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and Target. And if you want to see me be able to make more videos, because I'm not monetizing this one because of YouTube and how they feel about certain political issues, you can drop a donation like the viewer who requested this video through PayPal, Patreon, and Cash App. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Isis Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Pre-order your copy of Isis Dark Incubus at Amazon.com and other online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.